Hello, everybody. My name is Peyton Taylor, and for today, we are going to be talking about the Tolman method. Um, the Tolman method is a composition of categories into which you divide real arguments. It focuses on moral subjective dimensions and particular understanding over winning in an argument. It's broken down into two triads, which is primary triad and secondary triad. The components of primary triad is the claim, grounds, and warrant, and the components of a secondary triad are the backing, qualifier, and the rebuttal. Um, for the two editorials of my choosing, I chose Afrofuturism of Black Panther and the America's Last Slave Ship and Slavery Chain. Afrofuturism of Black Panther focused on the connection to its African roots being confidently shown while simultaneously placed in a futuristic society, showing the importance of high society Black characters that don't have social or racial baggage loads. His character is not primarily focused just on him being Black, but it's being more focused on him being a king and ruling his kingdom and all the contingencies of how it's run in kingdoms and all that good stuff, rather than the stereotypical Black men in comics and or movies. Um, Afrofuturism is being used in the Afrocentric point of view to show the beauty of African culture in a more powerful light. This is an argument because it is noted very bluntly that the image of what it means to be Afrocentric is connected to derogatory examples of the Black man that needs to be street in comics to obtain an audience, because it was said in the editorial as well that they thought that the Black Panther would be better criticized if he was just a man from the streets rather than a man from Wakanda, which in the comic books was an it was a country that also wasn't colonized yet. Um, he is basically saying that like they wanted, I guess, the character to lack more of an into depth background. They wanted it just to be planting a face that he was from the streets and he obtained this by doing this. It's kind of like the character Spider Man, that he was just a kid from Brooklyn and got bit by a spider. So they really wanted his character to be very generic. They tried to make African culture more desirable by viewers by commanding technological advancements to this character origins, which will make him more interesting and profound, rather than, like I said, the stereotypical storyline that is repetitive and ultimately harmful towards African Americans. Um, so, as I broke this argument down, Um, I said the claim was Black artists can use tools of futurism to change how the world views Afrocentric culture and the ideas about Black heroes. The evidence for claim is the popularization of the character, the Black Panther, by the public for its portrayal of a high advanced society that is still deeply connected with Afrocentric culture, but placed in a very futuristic atmosphere. The assumption that links evidence to claim is that we assume people have a misconception of how a Black hero can be written. The additional support for warrant is the lack of representation we all assume is present, which is why we state this argument to begin with. Um, the modification of the claim for contingencies is to say that since there is a lack in high society Black characters, the ones that are made will be highly popularized because it is something that hasn't been seen often. Um, the acknowledgement of possible objections would be some people are not really interested in seeing Black people in very futuristic displays. A lot of people might feel more comfortable with Black characters either being like side characters, background characters, or characters that are not really fully explained into depth about their origins, about where they come from, their culture, how they get the powers, why the powers are so very important. A lot of people might be more comfortable with just the Black character being the side character, which is fine in people's own rightness, I guess. I value that. My second editorial that I chose, as I said, was America's Last Slave Ship in Slavery Stain. So, this editorial entailed the wreckage that has been excavated, informally verified, and galvanized by historians, and it has reawakened the pain of enslavement among African American descendants of the, it's pronounced um, Clotida slave ship, some of whom still live in what is called Africatown, a community not far from downtown Mobile that was founded by the forebears. Basically, the ship is being rediscovered quite literally next to the hometown where the people that died on the ship have descendants as like great great grandchildren or great great nieces, all of that stuff. Um, the sudden rush of emotions underscores yet again the continuing impact of slavery on contemporary American life, which is why this piece is being argued. It's being argued whether it should be rediscovered or if it should just let it soak where in the ocean where it is. Um, the stain of slavery is something that's passed down by generations. Resurrecting a slave ship that has so many current ties to citizens is a largely distasteful exploration. The newly discovered wreck is indeed America's last slave ship on record. Artifacts from the site could well open a window into horrors about the captives that suffered during the crossing of the slave ship. So, my breakdown of this argument is the claim. My claim is the intense emotion the United States has created from haunted artifacts that originated from the sin of slavery is still affecting African Americans today. The evidence for claim is the resurfacing of the last slave ship known on record in its community responses, which the community did not have a very good response to it. The assumption that links evidence to claim is the assumption that we know how digging up an old slave ship that is so close to where the people that have died on the slave ship have grown their families, um, and how this will cause emotional harm from its origin. Additional support for the warrant is the impact of resurfacing old emotions into people that have been healing from the sin of the country that they live in. Um, the modification of claim for contingencies is many Africans that have some sort of connection to the slave ship may not be as emotionally involved given that it happened in 1860. Um, and the rebuttal, which is the acknowledgement of possible objections, could be that African Americans are not deeply affected by past artifacts as closely anymore. Um, for my qualifier and rebuttal, I did take a while for me to really find what the qualifier and rebuttal was, because people emotional state is very different. So some people may feel more connected to it than others because it might be their great grandma, where other people don't feel as connected because it's like their great 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 grandma, or like not even their grandma, like a great niece, like a great uncle. All factors come into play with this. But these are the two editorials of my choosing, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation as much as I enjoyed finding more information out about it. So, thank you so much. That is all I have for you today, and y'all have a good one.